Months ago, I sat here before the season and said the Packers could win 10 games. And they called me a madman. Look at us now. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't do Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. Nah, I'm probably still crazy. Grossi, and today we are going to be breaking down and predicting every single game heading into week 14 of the NFL. That's right, folks. We only have 5 more games left in the regular season, and the season is coming up quick, and of course, the postseason is about to begin. Before we get to that, I want to recap last week where I went 10-3, which means I am 121-73 on the season. These are the games that I got wrong last week. And turns out for our Pick'em League, we have a 3-way tie for the number 1 overall spot. We got ESPN fan, we got Packer fan, and we got Josh. So a big shout out to you all and best of luck. Starting, I don't want to. Starting off on Thursday Night Football, you got the New England Patriots taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And basically looking at this matchup, Amazon is just saying this to America right now.
Prepare for torture, which I do. This is torture.
It's bad. The New England Patriots, arguably the worst game of the week, might be in contention for one of the worst games of the year, losing 6-0 against the Chargers. And the thing I have to point out, because all these rumors swirling about Bill Belichick, if he's going to be gone, what have you, he has put together a really good defense, and they're breaking records. 3 weeks in a row, they've held a team under 10 points and are still unable to win, and that offense is historically bad. They just can't get anything going, and whether it's Zappy or whether it's Mac Jones, the QB's not necessarily the problem. They're not the answer either, but they need O-line help, they need running back help, they need any receiver to throw to. The Patriots are just a mess right now, but they are not alone because the Pittsburgh Steelers, in a very, very long weather-delayed game, lost to the Arizona Cardinals last week, but even worse, they also lost Kenny Pickett, who's going to be missing a bunch of time going forward. And so now we are going to be watching Mitch Trubisky on Thursday night. Yeah, so this game is going to be terrible. Honestly, I am hoping that maybe the Patriots play Cunningham to make it a little bit more interesting, but this game is going to be rough to watch. And I will say, with the Patriots' defense, maybe they have a shot against the Steelers. And do you hear that? Right now, Steelers fans everywhere are perking their ears up, praying that I will be selecting the Patriots to win because I am 0-12 picking the Steelers this season. And guess what? I have heard your prayers. I will be picking the New England Patriots to get the W. I just think that defense might be able to take advantage of Mitch Trubisky, and I know the Steelers' offense really ain't so hot either. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Patriots for an upset win. And Steelers, if you win, you're welcome. Following that, you have an NFC South matchup in which somebody's got to win this division between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Atlanta Falcons. Both teams coming off a win last week. The Buccaneers being able to defeat the Carolina Panthers in a game that really wasn't too pretty. However, Mike Evans, his 10th consecutive season reaching over 1,000 yards, and I gotta say this about Mike Evans. I give him a lot of props. I talk about him every offseason when we're ranking wide receivers. He legitimately is Hall of Fame bound, in my opinion. One of the best wide receivers that I personally have seen, just in terms of his consistency. He can get that marker with any single quarterback that's throwing him the ball. And yeah, I just gotta shout out Mike Evans. They're taking on the Atlanta Falcons, and listen, Desmond Ridder got the win, even though he didn't have the greatest game.
I knew exactly what to do, but in a much more real sense, I had no idea what to do.
And the Falcons are in this weird spot because, yeah, they are number 1 in the division. They are sitting on top of the trash heap. However, there are still some questions about that team. Of course, Arthur Smith, you're looking at some QB woes, but overall, I do think that the Atlanta Falcons are a pretty solid football team, and so are the Buccaneers. And this one could come down to the wire, and whoever winds up winning this could take the division, because the Buccaneers definitely could still win it. So I am actually going to roll with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here. I just think they're a little bit more balanced than the Falcons right now, though that Falcons defense has been impressing me as of late, especially you, Jesse Bates. And so because of that, I'm going to rock with Tampa Bay, though I would not be surprised if the Falcons get the win. But let's see if the Bucs can do it. Following that, you got an NFC North showdown between the Detroit Lions and the Chicago Bears. The Lions, they went up 21-0 real quick against the New Orleans Saints, and then all of a sudden found themselves in a very close game. They definitely got some issues on that defense. I know Aaron Glenn is coming under fire from a lot of fans, but overall, I think the Lions are going to be just fine. I still think they have a really great shot to win the division. They're taking on the Chicago Bears, coming off a bye week, and listen, they got a big win on primetime against the Minnesota Vikings, even though that game was god awful. And their offense is just, yeah, it's pretty bad. Their defense has definitely gotten better, especially with all those guys coming back from injury. And these past few weeks, the Bears defense has definitely been impressing. And Justin Fields hasn't been too bad either. I just feel like he's super limited in that offense. And so I imagine this is actually going to probably be a close game. Being played in Chicago, the Lions, they're trying to dust themselves off a little bit. Don't be surprised if this one comes down to the wire. I do have the Lions getting the win here, but ultimately, I can only imagine how the NFC North feels watching Jordan Love.
Oh, come on!
Did I make it about me and the Packers? Yes, I did. Lions win. Following that, you got what could be a really interesting game. You got the Indianapolis Colts taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. The Colts getting involved in one of the craziest games that I have seen this season against the Titans. You have 2 blocked punts, you got returns, you got overtime, you got madness. What kind of madness? Minshew madness. And listen, the Colts, nobody in the media is talking about them. They've won 4 straight, and I understand why, because the competition is really not that great. But I'm going to give all the props to Indianapolis still, because without Anthony Richardson, now without Jonathan Taylor, they're finding ways to win games. Alec Pierce is starting to make a little bit of a comeback. Michael Pittman Jr. has emerged as a really great option on that team. And yeah, I'm just impressed with what the Colts are doing. They're taking on the Cincinnati Bengals, who had a big win over the Jaguars on Monday night. And Bengals fans watching Jake Browning ball out?
Huh?
And I said this about Browning when he came in when Joe Burrow got hurt, that the guy is not bad, and he proved himself to be pretty damn good against the Jaguars defense, which is usually pretty solid. Now, of course, for the Bengals, it's still going to be a what-if season because Burrow is hurt, but Browning, if they piece together enough games, could wind up making the postseason. It is not completely out of range. And I think that just speaks to the testament of how many good players are on that team, especially that defense. And here, I see this game coming down to the very bitter end. The Colts, they're trying to keep that momentum and reach the postseason, while the Bengals, they're still vying for a spot. And I'm gonna go with the Indianapolis Colts here just because they've been on a bit of a hot streak. They've been on a roll, and I think they are just finding ways to win, and I think they'll be able to do that in Cincinnati. But you never know. Kitty might go meow, but for me, Colts get the W. Following that, you got a tale of 2 backups, most likely. You got the Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Cleveland Browns. The Jaguars, they waited 12 years to play on Monday Night Football, all to see their QB go down.
Therefore, I decree from this day forward, there will be no more Mondays.
I am so sorry. Trevor Lawrence diagnosed with a high ankle sprain, and Peterson seems to be pretty optimistic, doesn't think he's going to need surgery, and is apparently going to be week to week. Now, with a high ankle sprain, that could mean a number of things. He could be out a few weeks, he could be out the rest of the season. We're just waiting and seeing. So we're likely going to see CJ Beathard. They might go Nathan Rourke if that's the option, but they're going to be taking on the Cleveland Browns, who lost to the Rams last week. And Joe Flacco, he was serviceable. He was fine. And again, for the Browns, they are still trying to contend and make the playoffs. And the Browns have had some of their worst luck this season when it comes to injury. Of course, you have Nick Chubb, you have Deshaun Watson, you got guys missing time all over the place, DTR getting banged up, and now it's Joe Flacco, who I think probably gives them their best chance to win, though it might be slim. And this game, again, if Trevor Lawrence is not playing, I am going to tip my hat to the Browns. I just think their defense is going to make CJ Beathard or whoever is going to be playing their life pretty damn miserable. And because of that, I'm going with Cleveland to get the win at home. And Jaguars, I'm so sorry. Then you have another NFC South matchup between the Carolina Panthers and the New Orleans Saints. Both these teams coming off losses, and the Panthers, at least they were a little bit more competitive against the Buccaneers. And Panthers fans, yeah, you're the first team eliminated from the playoffs, and now you got to watch your team for the rest of the season, knowing that you don't have a first-round pick.
Coming to bed, honey?
Yes, dear.
It's tough out there being a Panthers fan. And the Panthers, listen, they're trying to make some changes, and their outlook just doesn't look good right now. They're one of the worst teams in football, and it's just tough. Their defense at times can look pretty good. I like their passing defense still, but yeah, it's just sad times. Taking on the Saints, which times are not much better there. While at least the Saints are competitive and they were able to claw back against the Lions, they still have some big problems on that offense because besides Taysom Hill, Chris Olave, and Alvin Kamara, they just don't have a lot going on offense. Derek Carr, of course, getting banged up last week, and he's just not the answer there. But then again, I don't know what the answer is in New Orleans. They have to have coaching changes, they have to have personnel changes, and overall, it's a big old mess. However, right now, they're playing a team that's a bit bigger of a mess than they are, and because of that, I'm going with the Saints. Following that, you got the Houston Texans taking on the New Jersey Jets. The Texans having a game-winning interception against the very hot Denver Broncos, who had the longest win streak heading into this past Sunday, and their defense, Stingley, with 2 interceptions, really, really impressive. CJ Stroud continues to be good. And the Texans, they're eyeing a potential playoff berth, but not only that, a potential division title win if the Jaguars are missing Trevor Lawrence for an extended amount of time. They're taking on the New Jersey Jets, who, yeah, they lost against the Falcons in another abysmal game, and at this point, I don't even know what you do because Zach Wilson doesn't even want to start there. They released Tim Boyle. They signed Brett Rippon, and yeah, it's just problematic over in Jersey. And Aaron Rodgers is back at practice and hyping up his Achilles recovery, but the team just keeps on losing.
Oh. That's it, I'm not going.
It's just ugly. I'm sorry, Jets fans. And Zach Wilson, after a story came out saying that he didn't really want to be the starter again, is going to be starting this week for the Jets. Your defense is absolutely phenomenal. I think is going to be a really interesting test for CJ Stroud and that Texans offense. Tank Dell, unfortunately, out for the year, which is a huge loss for that team. But overall, I think the Texans are a strong enough team that, especially with that defense, they'll be able to handle whatever the Jets offense throws at them. So yeah, Texans probably in a gritty, low-scoring game, get the win. Following that, you got the LA Rams taking on the Baltimore Ravens. This could actually be a sneaky good game. The Rams getting a win, as we talked about, against the Cleveland Browns. Matthew Stafford having a pretty good game. Kyron Williams has been a revelation for that team. Puka Nacua, of course, always looking good. I know he got banged up in that game, though. And listen, the Rams are one of those sneaky dark horse teams because they were supposed to be in an evaluation year, a rebuild year, and with that offense, those receivers, and Kyron Williams, that rebuild is not going to take as long as many people anticipated. They're taking on the Baltimore Ravens, who are sitting comfortable on top of the AFC North, and right now, one of the biggest benefits for the Ravens is, and I know this is ironic, they're actually kind of healthy. Lamar Jackson is the only starting quarterback in the AFC North without an injury, and just to be safe, I wouldn't be surprised if this is Lamar Jackson heading into the postseason.
I'm some kind of bubble boy.
How do you take a dump in that thing?
Just got to keep them safe. But honestly, this should be a really good game. The Ravens are one of the best teams, not only in the AFC, but in the NFL. And I know consistency has been an issue with them at times, but they're going to be taking on the high-powered offense of the Rams, which will be a good test for that defense. And it's being played in Baltimore, so I do think the Ravens have a pretty decent advantage here. I am going to go with the Ravens to get the W. They do not have an easy schedule the rest of the season, and so they need to be able to get those wins whenever they can. And I have them getting one this week. Then you got the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. Both these teams enjoying a bye week last week, and the Vikings, they're going to be real happy because Justin Jefferson is set to make his return against the Raiders. I just don't know who the heck is going to play quarterback because the last time we saw the Vikings, they lost in embarrassing fashion to the Chicago Bears, and while their defense looked pretty good, I don't know if it was the Bears' offense looking that bad, their offense couldn't get anything going. Josh Dobbs throwing multiple interceptions, and yeah, Right now, the Vikings, they're trying to stay alive in the playoff race. But that's not going to be easy because they're going to be taking on the Raiders, and Vikings fans, you're going to be seeing Devontae Adams again.
He's back.
And the Raiders are a bit of a weird team. They still have some playoff aspirations, and their defense has gotten a lot better, and I got to give them some credit for that. Max Crosby's just on a tear right now, but their offense is where I definitely have concerns. And of course, you're going to have growing pains with a young QB. And the Raiders will be taking on Josh Dobbs as he will resume starting duties for the Minnesota Vikings. But overall, I think this is going to be a pretty close game, and plus, he gets to play with Justin Jefferson. And because of that, I am going to go with the Vikings to get a win. I'm not happy about it, and Raiders, I will be rooting for you. But yeah, unfortunately, I'm siding with the purple incarnation of Satan this week. Then you got the Seattle Seahawks taking on the San Francisco 49ers. The Seahawks involved in a really close game against the Dallas Cowboys, and I think a lot of people, including myself, thought they weren't going to be that competitive against the Cowboys, and that was really impressive because the last time we saw the Seahawks besides the Cowboys game, they were getting their ass kicked on Thanksgiving against the San Francisco 49ers. And the Seahawks, they do not have an easy schedule coming up, and unfortunately, they are kind of watching the 49ers absolutely dominate right now, and Geno Smith, all he can do is just look on.
You think I want this? It just happened!
And listen, I like Geno Smith a lot. He definitely has his limitations, but the Seahawks right now, they're just trying to find their groove. And unfortunately, they're going up against the juggernaut that is the 49ers, who absolutely just decimated the Eagles in Philadelphia, and they did it in 3 quarters. Brock Purdy, Deebo Samuel, CMC looking phenomenal. The pass rush of the 49ers is looking really, really good. And for me, they're the best team in football. And now this is being played at home. It's not even having the benefit of being in Seattle. Yeah, I'm going to have to go with the 49ers here. It's going to take pretty much a miracle for the Seahawks to win, and I don't think that's coming. Then you got the Buffalo Bills taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. The Bills having a much-deserved bye week after they've been playing pretty damn well these past few weeks. Yes, they came up short against the Eagles, but overall, I do like the way they're playing since Ken Dorsey has been kicked out of the building. And for the Bills, this is a big game for them because not only are they trying to keep their playoff hopes alive, but they have a chance to kick the Chiefs while they're down.
At last we will have revenge.
Oh yeah, I know they're still looking for revenge. Speaking of the Kansas City Chiefs losing against the Green Bay Packers on Sunday Night Football at Lambeau Field in front of Taylor Swift and everything. And listen, the big story here was that defense because their offense has just been this season. It hasn't been the usual Chiefs high-powered, high-flying offense, but their defense has been really damn good. They were really limited against the Packers' offensive line. On top of that, they unfortunately suffered a bunch of injuries. I know they were missing some players as well. And the Chiefs, they got to figure it out pretty darn quick before they start pushing the panic button. Now, ultimately, I think the Chiefs will be okay. I still think they're going to win the division. Their closest competition is going to be the Broncos. And so I imagine they're still going to make the postseason and have no problems there, probably win a couple of games. However, I do have concerns for them when they get to the postseason, but that's not this week. Being played in Arrowhead, I know that atmosphere is going to be insane. However, with the way the Bills have been playing, they went toe-to-toe against the Eagles, and they really could have won that game. I'm actually going to go with the Buffalo Bills to get the upset. I think the Chiefs right now are just in a weird spot, and the Bills, being a little bit more healthy, coming off that bye week, I think they're going to be able to take advantage of that. So because of that, I'm rocking with the Buffalo Bills, and you just got to pray there's no coin flip. Bills win. Following that, you got an AFC West showdown between the Denver Broncos and the LA Chargers. Broncos fans had to watch a heartbreaker of an ending against the Texans this past week.
I should get some sleep.
Russell Wilson throwing a game-losing interception, and here's the thing about the Broncos. They were on that big win streak, and I think ultimately they're going to be okay too. They're still vying for a playoff spot as well. Their schedule is not the easiest going forward. They got some weird games like against the Chargers twice, who they always have weird games with. And Russell Wilson is going to have to be playing at their best. They're going to have to run the football really well, and I imagine that defense is going to play a large part in their potential success. They're taking on the Chargers who, hey, they got a shutout victory. That means Brandon Staley's a defensive genius, right? No, they won 6-0 against the New England Patriots in a god-awful football game, and their offense just really couldn't do much against a good Patriots defense. But at the end of the day, they got the W, and that is all that matters. This should actually be a pretty close game like it usually is between these two teams. I do have the Broncos sneaking away a victory against the Chargers this week. I just think that defense might be able to give Justin Herbert some issues. And right now, I can't imagine that'd be too terrible for Chargers fans who just want to see Brandon Staley gone. Maybe you'll get your wish at the end of the season. But here, I got Denver getting the W. Then, oh boy, you got Sunday Night Football. An NFC East matchup between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. And oh man, this game is going to be intense. The Cowboys, they have been waiting for this game ever since the last time that they faced them. And the Eagles, they better pray they don't lose to the Cowboys because, oh God, those fans are going to be insufferable. And Eagles fans, they just had to look on as Cowboys fans were clowning them after that loss to the 49ers.
We need to kill them. We need to kill them.
And listen, that was a really bad loss. The offense just didn't get anything going. The defense couldn't stop anything the 49ers offense was throwing at them, and they were in Philadelphia. Now, it is not the sky is falling. It's not the end of the world here, but there are some concerns with Philadelphia, and they are playing a Cowboys team who's on a bit of a streak here. And I will say there are some concerns with the Cowboys, especially that defense after watching that Seahawks game, because the Cowboys are just an undisciplined team as well. However, their offense, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb's been playing really, really well, and I think this could be a really close game in Dallas. I am actually going to go with the Cowboys here to get the upset over the Eagles. I think this is going to be a really close game, just like their last matchup was, which means they're going to be splitting the series this year, and maybe a potential rubber match could take place in the playoffs. But yeah, I got the Cowboys getting the win here. And Eagles, I'm so sorry if that happens. Then you got the Tennessee Titans taking on the Miami Dolphins. The Titans, they pretty much outgained the Colts in every single category this past Sunday, but still coming up empty against the Colts. And it's just a tough time for Titans fans. Almost as tough as Will Levis trying to get that first down.
He's airborne!
Yep, I'm flying through the air. This is not good.
But Titans fans, I feel for you because you didn't have hope going into the season, but then you got DeAndre Hopkins and the hope came back, and then the hope went down, and then it came back with Will Levis, and now we're here. Going against the Miami Dolphins, who absolutely demolished the Commanders this past Sunday. Tyreek Hill is having an MVP-like season. Tua is playing great. Achane is back, and he had a monster second half, and their defense is playing damn good. And this being played in Miami, I don't think this is going to be a relatively close game. The Dolphins should make easy work of the Titans. And yeah, I got to go with Miami here. And Titans fans, the season's almost over. And finally, the other Monday Night Football game, you got the Green Bay mother-loving Packers taking on the Giants. And the Packers, oh man, Packers fans are flying high because now they're talking about potentially another Hall of Fame QB.
Love isn't something we invented. It's observable, powerful. It has to mean something.
But in all seriousness, Jordan Love has been playing phenomenally the past 3 games. We're not going to crown him. We're not going to say he's a Hall of Famer yet, but there is a lot of optimism in Green Bay, especially after knocking off the defending Super Bowl champions, the Chiefs, on Sunday Night Football. And Jordan Love has just been playing mistake-free football these past 3 weeks. Receivers have been playing so much better. Christian Watson has had a phenomenal last 2 games. Jaden Reed is explosive. Romeo Doubs making phenomenal catches. Basically, the team's doing well. And on top of that, the defense is actually playing pretty damn well too. But shh, don't let Joe Barry hear that. They're taking on the Giants, who are coming off a bye week. And the Giants, listen, they've having a really rough season here. They need some more pass catchers. They need a QB. And on top of that, they need an offensive line. Tyrod Taylor could have potentially returned on Monday night, but they are going to be rocking with a Tommy DeVito. And if the Packers can stop Saquon Barkley, I like the Packers' chances here. I know the Giants have given them problems in previous years. Hell, they lost last year to them in London. But overall, I think the Packers are on a bit of a hot streak right now. I think that continues against the Giants, and they get the win on Monday Night Football. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Who do you have winning and losing the games this week? Let me know. You know, I saw me at Tom Grossi Comedy at all social media. See down below. A big shout out and thank you to all the Patreon and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.